Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Call roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Here.
Ms. Nyworth?
Here.
Ms. Edwards?
Here.
Dr. Bridges?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
Colonel King?
Okay, item number 4, special guests and special recognition.
Well, if, Mr. Jester, if you'll join me at the podium for the first one. I don't know if you all have noticed, but on the back wall is our Friends of LPS, our former Friends of LPS award, and but it has been replaced with this one. And so every time that a board, for everybody that understands, this is Dr. Lori Bridges' last board meeting. You could see the tear.
She didn't jump.
She has served amazingly well. She has done amazing things. But this is an opportunity. We give this award out only to select people in the community. We usually pick 2 a year since I've been here. Some years I think we may have picked 3, but it generally, and then the only other people that get them are people who served on our board, which will include Colonel King when he goes as well. But every outgoing board member gets one of these, and I'm here just to introduce the award, but I'm going to ask Mr. Jester and the other board members to share a little bit about what they want to leave everybody's mind about what Dr. Bridges has accomplished in her board tenure. So, and at some point you're going to come up here and receive it, but I don't know. That's up to the board president. Is that after we talk about you or before? So.
Well, since I have the choice, I guess we'll go ahead and talk about her a little bit so she can be good and red-faced when she gets up here. It's been an honor to get to know you. I've known your husband forever, as soon as they were old enough to be involved in the community, and got a great deal more respect for your husband now that I know you, because.
Here, let me hold that. You talk with your hands. I don't have a backup.
So just anybody that knows my wife knows that because of her, I'm a lot more highly thought of than I would be otherwise. And I think that's the case in your case. But the main thing I want to say is I really appreciate the level of integrity and intelligence you've brought to the board. You always seem to look at issues with a clear vision, and you try to look at every side of things to come to a logical conclusion. And, we've had a lot of challenges where we've needed to do that. And you've been very, very instrumental, and you've been a pleasure to work with, consummate professional. And so we're going to miss you, but so glad that you took the 5 years out of your life to dedicate to LPS, and the district's way better because of that.
Well, what I said is I've worked with for 3 years. I didn't know your husband even before now. Now I know you all. And you've always, anytime I had needed help, you were right there. Like you said, always professional, always thoughtful in your responses. And if you didn't have the answer I needed, you got right back to me. And I think some of the times we had was when we went to meetings and stuff and discovered we wanted safe rooms for our schools and stuff. And I'll treasure that. And we'll miss you, but I understand.
Well, I've known the Bridges family since her husband was in school, so we go way back. But I didn't know Lori as well, and I've served with 12 presidents during service to the board, and Lori's one of the best. She attention to detail, get it done, studies what needs to be studied, and I just really appreciate you.
I had the pleasure of actually meeting Lori in the dental chair during an emergency late night appointment that her wonderful husband helped me out, and she assisted.
That I'm completely not qualified for.
It's okay. I was desperate and appreciated it. But anyway, no, Lori, I just hope everybody knows what a great asset you've been to this board and to LPS, period. Just echoing the others, you are such a principled decision maker, clear-headed, you know, even the most difficult decisions, really seeing things clearly and being able to articulate really good points and always coming prepared and homework done. And this is not an easy job, and there's a lot more to it than what we all see in the open sessions here. So I am so grateful that I came on and got to learn under you.
Thank you.
You will be missed.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you will. Final.
Thank you. Try not to put too many fingerprints.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
We'll
I
get a
appreciate
picture.
it. Okay. Thank
Now you get the check.
This is the part of the job that I don't like, so it'll be short and sweet. But I do have to thank a few people. First of all, I really have to thank Kent Jester, because my year as president was challenging, to say the least. And I had Kent on speed dial, and he never acted like I was a bother to him. His poor wife probably was totally sick of me calling, because every decision I needed verification and just clarity from him on things. So I really appreciate that. I'm not sad to leave, because you guys are in such good hands. We have the best board right now. We have a board that works well together. I know that everyone on this board is here for the right reasons, which may not have always been the case, but it's definitely the case now. They have the kids, the students, the teachers, everyone. They're not in it for themselves. No one has a hidden agenda. So it's in good hands, so I'm not sad about leaving. I'll always be involved in LPS in some way, shape, or form. I was on the foundation before my kids were even in school, so I'm sure I'll find somewhere to be involved. So it's not goodbye, it's just in a different area. So thank you. I've really enjoyed serving. I appreciate it.
Item 5, architect and structural manager at risk of death. They didn't make the agenda, I'm sorry.
Last month, we almost had our next guest come, our Poetry Out Loud winner. But I will ask Doc Freeman to come introduce, and we will hear from Ms. Anderson.
You did tell me that, didn't you? Sorry about that.
Hi, everybody. You know, in our wonderful school district, there are all kinds of hidden treasures. And they're out there waiting to be discovered. And one of those hidden treasures is Kiela Anderson, who's just going to blow you over with her talent right now. So that's all I have to say. Kiela Anderson.
What Women Are Made Of by Bianca Lynn Spriggs. There are many kinds of open. Audrey Lorde. We are all ventricle, spine, lung, larynx, and gut, clavicle and nape, what lies forked in an open palm. We are follicle and temple. We are ankle, arch, sole, pore and rib, pelvis and root, and tongue. We are wishbone and gland and molar and lobe. We are hippocampus and exposed nerve and cornea, areola, pigment, melanin, and nails, varicose, cellulite, divining rod, sinew and tissue, saliva and silt. We are blood and salt, clay and aquifer. We are breath and flame and stratosphere, palimpsest and bibelot and cloisonne, fine lines, marigold, hydrangea, and dimple, nightlight, satellite, and stubble. We are pinnacle, plummet, dark circles, and dark matter, a constellation of freckles and specters and miracles and lashes, both bent and erect. We are all give and give back. We are Volta and girder. Make an incision in our nectary, and painted ladies sail forth, riding the back of a warm wind, plumed with love and things like love. Crack us down to the marrow, and you may find us full of cicada husks and sand dollars and salted maple taffy, weary of welding together our daydreams. All sweet tea, razor blades, carbon, and patchwork quilts of good God, and Lord have mercy. Our hands remember how to turn the earth before we do. Our intestinal fortitude, cumulonimbus, streaked with saffron light. Our foundation, not in our limbs or hips. This comes first as an amen, a hallelujah, a suckling, swaddled psalm sung at the cosmos's breast. You want to know what women are made of? Open wide and find out. Thank you.
Wonderful. Amazing.
Kayla, you are welcome to go, and Dr. Freeman. We'll just keep you, Dr. Freeman. But, but that was amazing, and
You can see her streaming live on the 29th and on the 30th of April and the 1st of May. That's when she'll be in Washington, D.C. to compete against 49 other state champions in 3 territories.
all right.
That's one way to get to the limit.
Is that the piece you're performing?
That's one of 3 pieces.
One of
3.
Wow.
good luck.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I understand we have another special.
Yes, I'm going to ask Miss Arlene Cudd is going to come share some of the focuses for our educators this week.
Okay, well, first of all, for those of you that don't know, I'm Arlene Cudd, and I'm the president of the Professional Educators Association of Lawton. And last year, about this time, I was quietly going out of my mind because we had our walkout. But it was successful, and I wanted to thank all the board members for the support that we were given. I mean, Lawton Public Schools allowed us to use the buses. Dr. Deegan helped support too, and I remember getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to return emails to people saying, you're on the bus, or you know, come early, somebody might not show up and there'll be a seat for you. I'm very happy to say OEA is not doing a walkout this year. They are asking people to wear red for this week for education. As you can see, I did that. I probably need an excuse to go buy 4 more outfits from Dillard's this week. We did get that money, and I do have to say, as a teacher for Lawton Public Schools, I have shopped local. It has gone to the chiropractor, the dentist, Goodyear, Easton's, anywhere I needed something, the budget wasn't quite as tight, thanks to that raise. But OEA is asking for people to bug their legislators, particularly to add more money, the funding for education. There is a surplus at the state level now, and it would be nice if we could up the budget and give more money to education because it has been cut tremendously. Another issue that they're also asking is that on Thursday they are going to vote for a COLA for the retired teachers. The retired teachers have not had a pay increase for the last 10 years. Some of the legislators are saying that it needs to be 100% funded. Right now it's funded at a wonderful, the most it's been for a long time, it's 73%. It would only take 1% of it. And after all, we all hope to be retired one day, and it would be nice if we had, you know, sufficient money, because it is hard to be retired. Prescriptions are high, medical costs are high, and that we need to remember the people that have come before us. But I just, again, wanted to say thank you for all the support. And there is no walkout this year, and I am over the moon about that. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
And that concludes our special guests.
Item number 5, architect and construction manager risk update.
Good evening. I'll introduce us. My name is Corey Miller with AIP, joined by Josh Jaycox with Crossland Construction tonight. Just a few updates since a couple weeks ago. Progress continues on Lawton High's window project. They made great strides over spring break, and we've created a partial punch list on the majority of the building. We'll be going back in the next week or so to finish up on what they've done lately. With the Woodland Hills, Lincoln, and Adams HVAC projects, we re-inspected punch items last week. All but a couple of those are done, so they're getting very close. Crossland will update us on Eisenhower and the safe rooms, but we have begun Whittier's safe room design. We are getting that priced right now. We're calling that a 65% pricing set, so we'll have that information back later this week, and the following week we've got a review scheduled for the 9th. Still looking into different options on the food service warehouse, freezer, and refrigerator replacement. MacArthur High's fire alarm upgrade has been sent out to bid. We'll be having a pre-bid conference next Tuesday on the 9th, and the bid opening is scheduled for the 18th. Work is getting underway at Almore West at the gym, repairing that. Steel has been ordered, and once it's here, they'll get that put into place and get it cleaned up and ready for use again. Do y'all have any questions on any of those projects?
And I want to thank you for the punch list that you sent in the email for MacArthur Cafeteria. Got that. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right.
Good evening. Again, my name is Josh. I'm with Crossland Construction. I'm one of the project managers on the middle school and now the safe room. So I'm going to start with the safe room first, and then we'll lead into the middle school, which we have a video from the multimedia department to give you guys a visual representation of what's actually happening. So in the safe rooms, we had a change in leadership. So I will be the new lead for the safe rooms as far as project management. The new schedule, right now we're showing we have 52 rain days, or 52 days that we've been unable to work. So that pushes right now our schedule to June 7th for the completion of the final safe room. And that will not, that is the best quality product at the safest I mean, absolute safest environment. So as far as safe and ready to use, as of today, there were 3 of them that in the event of severe weather, tornado, and the students need to occupy, there are 3 of them that are ready to go right now where we could lock them. They're fully enclosed and there's no issues whatsoever. They're continue working tonight and through the rest of the week. Tomorrow, they will have 1 more done tomorrow, Carriage Hills, and the remaining will be done by Friday. So you guys will be able to use them on Monday, or the teachers can use them on Monday. So what we're going to do is the doors have a status. You can set them as tornado status or classroom status. So classroom status, anybody can open the handle, walk in, easily accessible. The tornado status is where once the door's shut, you have to have a key to open the door. So essentially, it can't be ripped open. What we're going to do is all the doors are continually set at tornado status and they're propped open. So in the event of a severe weather, all we got to do is close them. We don't have to take the key, change the setting on it. It's an easy fix. We're also going to do is we're making sets of keys for every building, and we're going to hand them over to the principals, 2 sets of keys for every principal. We're going to provide some instruction to the principals on how to operate the doors correctly. That way, in the event where a crossing employee or someone's not there, they can still get into the safe rooms, lock the doors, and protect the students. So as we progress, again, we're focusing on quality, a safety product, and a safety-oriented product where it protects all the students at all times. So right now, as far as kind of status for all of them, we've got framing going in all of them. Edison, I went and toured them all this morning. So Edison is probably the furthest one to Lawton, and then Almore West is right behind it. Edison, we're looking about the 19th of April for it being completed. So to kind of give you a time frame. That June 7th deadline, that's kind of the very last one, which will be, I believe, Sullivan. So once that one's completed June 7th, which obviously we're still working nights or overtime hours, as well as weekends on Saturdays to make up time to beat that schedule.
Is Whittier going to be done by the end of the summer, do you think?
That's, no, ma'am. No. No, ma'am. We're still working on it. Like Corey mentioned, we're still doing a 65% budget. We're having a review on the 9th of April, go over everything. We're taking a lot of lessons learned from the ones that we're working on right now to kind of expedite the process with the next one. So a more of a prototype, quote unquote, that we can, build a little faster.
And that was because we didn't know where we were going to put that.
Right.
So yeah, we have,
Now, when you say that they're ready to use, do you mean like, the weather forecast is saying that there's a tornado coming, and so the children could go into all of them right now? And I'm just saying the tornado's coming and we need to get into a building, so we could do that? Or are you saying that they're done on the inside and
they'll be able to house the students in the event of severe weather. The insides will still be work going on.
Okay.
In the event where the sirens go off or students come in, obviously we're developing a safety plan to remove anything that could potentially cause harm to the students. But it still will be a construction site,
Right.
but the goal is to protect the students if something were to happen. So we have 3, like I said, we have 3 ready right now, remaining completed by Friday.
Okay.
And then ready for you guys, ready for the teachers on Monday.
I haven't been in any of them, but I drove by all the sites, and boy, they look nice. I mean, and they're all cleaned up on the outside. I don't see any debris or anything that's been left, and this is over the weekends, and stuff, and so I'm real pleased with that, so. Haven't been in any side, but.
So any other questions on the safe rooms? Anyone? No?
But we're not looking to be, when you say completed, was my last question, when you say completed, you mean completely, or are we talking about substantial completion?
Substantial completion, yeah.
By June?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that'd be the last one. So we're going to do, so each building will have its own certificate of occupancy. So each building will, as soon as we get completed, we'll do a punch list. We'll do a punch list with the owner and with Corey. And that way we'll complete that punch list and then eventually, but as soon as a certain amount of days, turn that building completely over to the school and be completely done with it.
And when we say substantial completion, for people that might not know, we're just talking about like 85 to 90% done. We're looking at punch lists and things.
Yes, ma'am.
like that,
Yeah,
right?
like 95,
Right.
97%. I mean,
95, is it more than
yeah,
that? Okay.
we're more or less going through fixing any door frames that aren't closing properly or touching up paint, making sure the millwork is doing
Right.
exactly what it's supposed to be and things of that nature.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. On the safe rooms, the middle school, I'm just going to kind of go over what is ongoing and then what's coming up, and then kind of talk weather as well, and then we'll show you the video. So right now we poured the safe room slab this past Wednesday, which put us over halfway done as far as the concrete slab on the ground. So that was a good yay. The main gymnasium, they started erecting all the steel for the roof today. So they got over half the bar joists in. The crane is on site today. We'll be there through probably till Wednesday or Thursday, and then they'll leave and we'll come back and do the rest of the gym. Bleacher steel, so all the bleachers in the main gym, we finished that steel over the weekend. So with that, we're still working. We're sitting at 33 rain days on the middle school. With that, we're sitting about 36 days behind schedule, with that 33 days taken into account. So really, it's about 3 days behind schedule. We are working as well late in the night and then Saturdays as well. So trying to catch up, make up time, and get to as fast as we can. Upcoming work, we got 2 more slab pours, or concrete pours on the 9th and 12th. We're going to continue with the grade beam. We got about a mile left of grade beam to put in the ground. So CMU walls for the safe room, they're going to start those here within the next week or 2. And then that's pretty much it. Any questions before they show the video? No? You usually have to play. All right, there we go.
Sherman Cernicki, I'm the superintendent for the site. The project currently, we're installing the CMU block walls. We're bringing up 2 gymnasiums, moving towards the safe room. We've got all of the piers, the concrete piers in the ground. We're working on grade beams to connect the piers. We're getting ready to place the slab for the safe room. And in the areas where we've got the CMU completed, we're getting ready to start erecting steel. We've also completed quite a bit of the underground utilities, stormwater, sewer, water. And we put a new fire line in to replace an old fire line at the existing high school, which will tie into our water system eventually.
Mike Cheney, project manager for Crossland Construction. Currently we're in the West Gym, and you'll see behind me we have the raker beams that have been installed, and they are going to start setting in the bleachers. After the bleachers, we're going to start setting the rest of the steel in the gym, where we're getting to the bar joists and all the metal decking, and we'll start to see the actual gyms come together once we start. So that's going to happen at the end of this month, going into April. From there, we'll go and walk some of the other gyms, and also look at some of the grade beams and previously what Sherman was talking about. Right now we are in Area C, and we're looking onto the East Gym. Currently they're scheduled to finish out this wall right here on the west side of the East Gym by the end of the week, and they will also be starting this shear wall, which will be the east side of the East Gym. So they're going to finish this up. We're looking around early April to have that wall done, and this wall currently, and also the stairwell that's behind me. Within there too, they'll be installing frames, and they'll just be finishing out and grouting and topping out, and we'll also be getting into steel for the bar joists and all the decking going into April as well.
Josh Jaycox, one of the project managers on this project. Right now I'm going to show you the safe room. This is the safe room on the classroom portion of the northeast corner of the middle school. We're going to be pouring this slab, concrete slab, tomorrow morning, it'll be Wednesday. From there, we heard the grade beam or foundation's already been placed, so we'll do the slab. And then shortly following, after cure time, will be the CMU block to make it a FEMA-rated shelter. As we progress, we're digging grade beams right in front of us, and we're progressing around the project back to the north and back to the west. We'll be pouring concrete slab right where we're standing within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll continue to the north and to the west, finish up the project for concrete.
Excellent work.
Great job. Did you do the drone? That's awesome. Are you going to have that available on the LPS website?
We can see it on the website, can we?
She's going to put it up.
And we're going to do the same thing for the safe room as well. We just kind of
That's
ran out of
so
time.
good.
We worked on that, I think this past week before spring break, so we kind of crammed it real quick. Turned out fantastic, so we're going to try and do the same for the safe rooms.
That's awesome. It's looking fabulous, and we just can't tell you how excited we are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, you're welcome to stay. Good job. Thank you all. Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yes. Item 6B.
All right. 6B. Each year,
So we just did, wasn't it? Oh, we didn't? Oh, 6A. Hey, somebody else needs to do this today.
this is the information item, the written updates of business operations. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I'll have Mr. Jester move us on 6B.
Oh, now it's 6B time.
This is an action item, consideration action regarding the following summer 2019 programs and budgets, and there are several. Elizabeth Brown Hill, she was unable to make it today. She was called out for a training. Proposed special education extended school year, proposed summer meal program, proposed summer maintenance, weed crew, Title I extended year, Title III English language proficient program, and Title VI, Indian education summer program.
If we can just, we're gonna propose this all as one.
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so. Each year at this time, we accept our summer budgets.
Right.
There are some increases here. If you'll notice, summer maintenance weed crew, but I think that reflects a more thorough approach. And I got to give Mr. Tanner and his crew, Jeremy, they've done a really good job on the grounds this year.
Yes, they
It's
have.
been a huge, noticeable difference. But if the board doesn't have any specific questions, if you do, of course, we have the people in the room that can answer them. But we do need to approve these to have summer. And I do want to point out one thing. Our summer program, over the last few years, the secondary schools have, at the high school level, because of the schedule change and some other things, that's an expense in the summertime that has almost virtually gone away, completely eliminated the need for summer school for our students and our staff. And so these are some things that have to, I'm not saying it's completely gone away because we still do have some needs, but it's nothing at the scale it was. We have more things at the sites. So a lot of things to celebrate in our summer program.
I'll move for approval. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Claude
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Okay, item 6C, information item.
This is, Mr. Cook is going to approach the podium, and he's going to give us an update on the transportation departments and get discussion and some feedback from the board regarding proposed adjustments in the transportation schedule in order to make sure things run more on time, et cetera. I'll hand it off to Mr. Cook.
Good evening. It may be better if I start with D first and kind of tell you where we're at and kind of how we got to this proposal. When putting together a district and departmental committees, put together a district committee to look at some of the transportation needs and some of the concerns throughout the district. We had elementary and secondary principals, assistant principals, some directors, executive directors, to be able to get input from all levels, as well as through our departmental committees, which we have those ongoing from large group to small group. But looking at all of that, we looked at some things, some options that we had, and one of the options that we have is the proposal that's before you to add additional time. And it's kind of from we are subtracting bus drivers, so what we are doing is adding time to all the routes. If you'll look at it, there's 45 minutes and 40 minutes from the high school to the middle school, but there's only 30 minutes from the middle school to the, yes?
Do we? I know Peggy ran copies. Give me just a moment. I know where they are. Or Barbara knows where they are.
Okay.
I have a copy here, Barbara.
I'm sorry about that.
All
I'm
right.
looking, but I don't see
You knew we
it.
were looking at stuff, but we didn't have it.
Not fine.
Want me to wait or? You got it.
It's not your fault.
That's what happens when Denise is gone.
I know. I mean, we let Denise off for, things like surgery and things, and it's just,
Everything's
no,
got it.
we're
not the
teasing, we're
same.
just teasing. No, these
When you say you're subtracting drivers, maybe you were gonna get to this, but if not, could you just explain what you mean by that? We're losing them?
We're losing drivers. It's no surprise. We've talked about it throughout the last few years that our driver numbers are dwindling. We've went from 90-some to 72 to 73. But the one thing that stays consistent are the amount of students that we have to transport daily. So when we're subtracting drivers, what we're looking at is additional time to our routes. They go from maybe 35 minutes to 45 minutes just because you're adding time in there for different stops. And what we have with our current schedules, we have 45 and 40 minutes between the high school and the middle school, and that's AM and PM. But from the middle school to the elementary, there's only 30 minutes. Okay, what's happening is routinely, our buses are getting to our elementary schools at 4 o'clock. School lets out at 3:45. And what happens is we don't have the time to be able to pick up, deliver, and to get there on time. So what we're looking at, if we're not able to put 15 drivers on board, we're going to have to look at being able to add additional time there to be able to be consistent with it. And that's what we're looking at now, is that we've closed schools, we've added additional bus riders, but our times have not changed. So that's what this is looking at, to give us some time there to be able to deliver students and get to the schools at a timely manner, in a consistent manner.
What's the reason for losing so many?
Well, we have an aging staff.
Okay.
We also, it is a niche job. It's a 12-hour work day that they work 6 hours. So it's, there's a lot of things that contribute to it.
Have we looked at, and I know this is getting you off track a little bit, but have we looked at the pay and thought about trying to see if we can find in our budget an increase and to maybe pay more?
And those are things that we have looked at. There have been raises over the last 2 years. We've not seen an influx of applicants with that. So
you don't think paying more would be an incentive?
Oh, I'm sure. I think it all goes together. Not everyone wants to work early in the morning, then be off during the day, then come back for the afternoon. So we get retired people, and we get and we've got a great staff of people. It's just through attrition. We're going to lose people every year, and we gain people, but we're at at the low 70s, and it's the carrying capacity of LPS is a large district, and that's getting to the point where you're going to continually see late buses because you can only drop them off so quickly and pick them up.
I'll let you finish your proposal, but I have a my concern is, and of course, what they're putting in the GPS tracker and all that stuff, and the things with the students, is that with the buses being late and with a parent thinking that a child maybe got on the bus at, let's say, 7:30, and the bus didn't come, that we could potentially lose a child in all this. And that's, and I'm sure that's something that y'all thought about too.
Sure.
But that's a big concern.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, they are. Safety is our number one priority when busing students. I mean, we have from first graders, kindergartners, through high school kids, and safety is the number one concern. And that's one of the things that we're looking at here, is that additional time is going to be needed. And even when we were at capacity of our drivers, that time frame is still a struggle. It's just not, at one time, the elementary schools were mostly walking schools, but now we've closed schools, and now we've added additional riders, and these are things that need to be taken into account, I believe.
Yes, okay. I'll let you finish.
Okay.
Okay, we have it now.
Okay, so the proposed schedule change, is that that's your proposal for what time school starts?
Yes, ma'am. That will
Wow,
be,
I see a huge problem with that.
okay?
Have you ever had a high school student yourself personally?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, let me just tell you how it works. There's no possible way. As someone, is Dr. Deloach here? Okay, I'll just say, as someone Dr. Deloach called my house every week, your child is late again. Well, yeah, they can't make it by 7:45, they can't make it by 7:25.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that flippantly. I mean, there's lots of research that shows that our high school students that stay up later, and this is not necessarily just your issue, but it's something that
Hey, I
we
got
need
up
to
at 8
look
o'clock
at.
to be at school at 8:15, I know what we're
But,
doing.
I mean, there's studies that show that these high school kids stay up later, they have jobs. I mean, to ask them to be, I go to work at 7:30, but I go to bed on time.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I don't see where that's a feasible thing to do.
Well,
Now,
we talked about splitting.
I will add
Right.
that through our committees, through our transportation committees, one of the proposals that was brought up, one of the recommendation was to move into an elementary, high school, middle school.
Okay.
We've looked at some, there's different districts that do them that
Right.
are our size, such as Norman, such as Tulsa, but that is something that I did not see as feasible at this point to change for next year. Okay? What I was looking at is something, because we understand we're going to have late buses again next year. And what we're looking at is what can we do to help solve that issue? Okay? And I do believe that looking at the elementary first scenario, whether it's high school or middle school, whichever one is deemed to go second, I do think that's something that can be looked into, but I don't think that's something that can be brought forth for the 1920 school year. And I think this is something that is a viable change that will give some consistency, will give the needed time, but it's change. And the things going through my committees, one thing that I understand is that people want change. They want their buses to be there, but if we're going to do the same thing that we're doing now, we're going to have the same result.
So we need to be figuring something out. If this isn't gonna be feasible, then what's an alternative?
What are the alternatives? I'm sorry, I can't hear very well.
Oh, so, I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with her. I mean, as a student that seriously got up at 8 o'clock to be at school at 8:15, I mean, I can't imagine if I had to be at school at 7:25.
Sure.
But if that's not an option, what are our options? Just doing late buses like we've been doing?
Our options are to put people behind the wheel of our buses, which we try every day, or we're going to have some late buses. We're going to have some AM buses, and the problem that arises is that mostly it affects elementary, because they are the last in the AM and last in the PM. They are in transportation concerns. They are the number one priority because they are small children that do not think on their feet. So it's tough. And you have high school, secondary that are better equipped, but elementary students, that is the number one thing that we have concerns with.
Well, I mean, and as a board member, that's the parents I'm hearing from.
Sure.
Are the elementaries, because their kids are waiting at the bus stop for so long.
Sure.
And like I said, I mean, if we have a first grader that they thought was gonna be picked up at 7:45 and now it's 8:15, it's a concern for a parent.
Sure.
That's something, so I'm gonna have to agree that elementary gotta be our main concern on that.
What do we need to do to look at, what do we need to do to increase our numbers of, I mean, is it just as simple as figuring out if there's a way to raise the wage, or are there other things we could do? Increase the bandwidth for before and after school programs, for example, at the schools, or
Well,
more parents can.
and that's a question we pose daily. What can we do to bring people in here? Because we advertise, we go speak with Fort Sill. I mean, I've been on KSWO to try to recruit people, and it's something that it's something that has eluded us to this point. And I'm not for sure that it's just financial. I think it's a tough job, and I think it's just certain. I mean, just getting started in it, it's $185, $90 just to be able to apply to be a bus driver for us. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a strenuous job. So. Sure. And those are things we, as I alluded to earlier, we do have some departmental committees going on, and that's one of them. One of the small group committees is driver incentives. How do we sell the district? Because we're not only selling the bus driver position, we're selling Lawton as a whole, Lawton as a district, and trying to bring people in. And one thing I've noticed with our bus drivers, we may get 25-year-old teachers, but we don't get 25-year-old bus drivers. And so,
What does a CDL cost these days? Do you know what a CDL costs these days?
it's
No.
50 some dollars, I believe. Though, the last time I looked at it was 50 some dollars to have it.
I
So-
would personally love, I know you and your committee, this is what you, or you and your team work on this like all day, every day and all
Sure.
that. I would love to hear just some of the, not tonight obviously, but just some of the creative, out-of-the-box ideas that y'all have come up with.
Sure.
How to either reduce ridership by allowing more parents to be able to drop off at more
Sure.
flexible times and pick up or whatever, or, ways to incentivize and
I'm with her.
recruit. I would just like to,
Well, and one of the options
the
is,
problem.
we bus, correct, a mile, and it's
One-
legal, a
1.5.
mile and a half.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, you cut out that half mile, you cut out a lot of bus routes.
Sure.
oh,
That's
yeah.
something too, but boy.
I
hate to
know,
open that
I
can
know,
of worms.
we started doing the mile because
Mhm.
kids weren't getting to school, but
Right.
Ms. Ellis?
Let me clarify, we do a mile and a half,
Right.
with the exception of roadways that are too treacherous for young children to cross.
Okay, so it is a
We try
mile.
to keep that in mind, but our policy
Yeah,
probably says.
like Pioneer Park
my,
and Rogers
my house
Lane
is, they're
terrible.
picking up at my, and I'm a mile from Eisenhower.
I will tell you also that special needs have other services. in
Oh,
it,
sure,
so
sure.
You, you can't count those, but
Yeah, if y'all
all
can,
the issues that you're talking about are areas that are being explored currently.
That's good.
We currently thought that we needed to get something in front of you right now.
Yes.
because in order to be prepared for next year and to let both the board and our community know that we definitely are wanting to do something different. This is our best proposal at this time.
Right.
And in the coming year, there will be other proposals that will be put forth.
so you don't think trying to offer, I mean, and I'm not saying that we can afford to offer bus drivers more money, but if we can, don't think that would be something that would entice?
I think it will help.
Okay.
I do think it will help. There's districts around us that offer more money than we do. They are short of bus drivers.
Okay.
So I do
you
think,
still
I
see
do
that?
think it is a step
Okay.
that, in the process, but I don't think that financial is the only obstacle here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a part-time job, but it takes a whole day to do,
Well,
because
yes,
you have
Sure.
an end period in the middle of the day. so.
sure.
Well, I appreciate that y'all working, but I'm like her, Kelly, anything that y'all could bring to us out of your box thinking that we haven't thought of, that we
Sure.
would like to hear,
Yes, ma'am.
would be awesome.
Absolutely.
And thank y'all for working so hard and trying
All
to
right.
get this rectified.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Always had trouble getting bus drivers.
Okay, item 7, report of the superintendent.
All right. I have 3 or 4 items today. The first item is an information item. This is presentation of discussion of the importance of Native American regalia, graduation, and other events. And for this, Ms. Potter couldn't make it tonight. She's our Indian education coordinator. Ms. Potter, oh, I didn't think she'd made it. But for this, I've asked for the assistance, and before Dr. Pee Wee Wardy gets up, I want to give a little background. Dr. Pee Wee Wardy has come to us, he's back to Lawton. This is his hometown. And about a year and a half ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, time flies, but Dr. Pee Wee already had a meeting with Dr. Polk and I, and he really started to help us understand a lot of issues and a lot of cultural realities with Native American students. And over the time, last year, one of the issues he brought up with us was regalia. And to the credit of our high school principals, had a discussion with them, and they came up and they allowed, and Lawton High had been allowing it for years already.
I was gonna say, I thought we did allow this.
Yeah, and then MacArthur and Eisenhower, they also, and so it's been a good experience for us. But I wanted to make sure we didn't leave the board out of the loop, the importance of understanding why and how this matters. And I'm approaching this from the lens of sovereign nations who predated us, whose laws and cultures predated our Constitution. How do we make sure we open the door and honor that appropriately? And I think the first step is really just understanding. And so we had a meeting the other day with the high school principals and Dr. Pee Wee Wardy, but with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Cornell Pee Wee Wardy. He has become a mentor for me and a friend, and I'll ask you to come to the podium, sir.
Ha Marawe, Deputy Chop, Cornell Pee Wee Wardy. I introduce myself in Numina, Comanche language. I'm a citizen of the Comanche Nation, and I'm also Kiowa, so that's really important to me. I come here as the educational liaison for the Comanche Nation. I come here after many decades of work in higher education. I'm Professor Emeritus from Portland State University. Earlier in my career, I've been the elementary principal. And so in looking at my introduction, it's important for me to understand that not only that it's been in Native American education that I've been involved, but indigenous education, indigenous studies. So we take a more global aspect of indigeneity. And so as we look at diversity within our community, it's really important to know that this is a part of the landscape for education. I'm also the a person that comes from Lawton High School. I'm a graduate of Lawton High School, so that means a lot to me, of the experiences that not only my family, but all the people that represent the Kiowas, the Comanches, and the Apaches that are here. They're important. And so also understand, because of the multicultural aspect of my work, and more so in preparing teachers, that they honor diversity. They honor the sovereignty of who they are and all the agencies of identity. And so my identity, my pronouns is he, him, and his, which is really important in this day and age of global education. And I come in retirement with my partner, Dr. Nakona Pee Wee Wardy. She teaches kindergarten at Pioneer Park. So we're returning home after decades of being away. I'd like to further acknowledge the ancestral lands of who we are right now living at Lawton, Oklahoma. That'd be the Comanche, the Kiowa, and the Apache. That's an important point for me to really portray to you, because this is what we teach our children, particularly with not only just with the Comanche Nation, but all the indigenous people here. We have ancestral lands that have very resilient histories, and we're really proud of that. And we want our children, not just our children to know, we want all the children to know about our histories. So as we began to look at creating partnerships, one of the first things that I did 2 years ago, I reached out to Indian education, and the person that I met was Pam Fodder, who's become an advocate for all the things. She's very much a part of the protectorate and the advocacy of American Indian education here in Lawton Public Schools. Building a bond, probably of 2 years, we formulated a group, an advocacy group called the Native American Council. And that is those that are concerned, parents, scholars, and those that are part of the advocacy of Indian education to help her understand what's going on nationally, what's going on statewide, and what are some policies that are happening that could better fit some of the goals and objectives of her program. Out of that program, we developed a good partnership. So it's moving into more professional development and also engagement. So there's the experience and scholarship in Indian education is some of the things that we're doing. And so what I have to offer Pam and the community and here where I'm at is my experience of in the professorate, the scholarship that drives Indian education, as well as preparation for teachers and administrators, and also Native American Studies. That has been my tenure for the last 20 years of my life. So I integrate both of those, and that's why I'm here. Many times, as an education liaison for the Comanche Nation, I've been asked to go out into communities and talking to school districts about the concerns of many of the Native students, particularly the Comanches. One of the first things that come up is cultural misunderstanding, things that maybe the communities have not known, and this is what area that really moves me. In those discussions, primarily with surrounding school districts in Comanche County, and there are a lot of small districts that enroll many of the Comanche students. Oh, by the way, the Comanche students are predominantly far the #1 student enrollment here at Lawton Public Schools, 534, something like that. Second is Coyotes at 124, something like that. So we have an abundant amount of our families going to school here at the Lawton Public Schools. In those discussions, most of the calls I receive are coming from our Comanche parents and grandparents about not allowing our students, particularly those that are approaching graduation, to wear traditional Native regalia, such as this where I come from. This is mine. I was prohibited to wear this when I graduated at Northeastern State University in 1977. Here it is, 1977. So it's still, we need to understand that education is a part of what we're trying to do. And not only educate and honor, but it honors everybody. So this is coming back in decades later. So I look at this as an issue not only for the Comanche Nation, but all of those that may not understand the efforts of self-determination, and primarily as of identity within schools, because it's a principle of school. One thing that I've learned fast in a hard way, that the academic performance of most of the students is high self-esteem. High self-esteem drives academic performance. And so as we look at the ability to look at this issue, I've been an advocate and talking to many school districts here, and I find that the administrators in the community primarily are not familiar with the research about the students, Native students wearing regalia at graduations. And two, I've worked on statewide educational committees in Oregon, in Washington, California, Minnesota, Wisconsin, through the associations of the National Indian Education Association. And so here locally, I've teamed up with the Oklahoma Council for Indian Education, where we had our annual conference here at Lawton last year. And so I had colleagues there, so I know that there was such a dire need for this type of discussion, not only locally, but also at the state level. So I thought I'd share that with you, and I don't have any fancy presentation or anything. All I have is myself, my advocacy, my work that I have accumulated over the years, but also my grandpa and a father and many advocates, and I mentor so many people, particularly when I just got here in Lawton, so I'm happy to be back. Some of you that are probably my age might know my father, Doc P.B. Wardy, and my brother, Kerwin. They were advocates of Indian education here at Lawton Public School. It was their work that brought attention to Lawton Public Schools that opened up the door for Native students to wear their long hair here in this community. But that issue is happening so many other places that are not really familiar with some of our concerns and some of the sovereignty issues that we're trying here to advocate. So I'm here as a colleague. I'm here as a resource. I have a lot of papers that I've shared with Dr. Deegan and many of the affiliates that are here, and I work closely with Pam Fodder in a very spiritual and a very collegial way. So I'll stop right here and see if you have any questions for me.
So currently, what is regalia at graduation? What does that entail? Is it the feather or on the cap or what?
Well, it comes in different dimensions. And so when I bring my feather here, it means that this is the ultimate honor for any student that come, particularly for the Comanche perspective, to be don a feather and say you have accomplished one of the most remarkable tasks in your young life. And so, following tradition, they're don a feather by an elder or somebody of worthiness in their family, and they come in and do ceremony, and that is a representation. And so it could be this, it could be a part of a regalia that they wear, could be their moccasins. It really depends upon their perspective, but just the representation, knowing that.
So it's a variety of things.
Yes.
I want you to know, I recently attended a workshop for OSSBA, and this was a topic that was brought up. And overwhelmingly, all the districts that were there are very much in favor of this, of allowing the Indian students to wear their regalia and to be able to do that. And someone brought up, well, is this opening the door for other things? And that was completely shut down, because anybody that this is your culture, this is part of who you are, should be able to do a respectful representation of that at a graduation, regardless. And so across the district, across the state, it's been very much well received. So I think you're getting the message across.
Thank you very much for that notation, because I did introduce myself as the education liaison for the Comanche Nation, was a sovereign entity. And that maybe is the difference right there for many people that might not understand that
It might be a
perspective.
really good workshop for the summer conference at OSSBA.
And I really think that it may be one, because like I said, I was at OSSBA, and this was very much a topic that was taken, and was, like I said, there was probably, I would say, 25 districts represented at that conference, at that workshop that I was at, and it was overwhelming that we support this wholeheartedly.
And the few school districts that I've been talking and working with in Comanche County, we are moving towards policy change.
I think that's awesome.
When Dr. Pee Wee already first shared this with me, I came from small districts, Geary and Calumet were Native American, the Cheyenne Repo tribes mainly, and then some Kiowa also, were very integral in the community and in the district. So this concept, I really hadn't asked the question. And I'm very proud of our high school principals, because as soon as I asked the question and asked them to consider it, they just made sure everybody knew that this was going to be appropriate, and they were going to, we needed them a chance to try this out. And we had a meeting last week with them again, and our high school principals have been understanding, and I like Dr. Pee Wee Artie's point about this is a sovereignty issue that predates our Constitution. Yes. Therefore, how do we honor that?
Well, I was born, my family's from Cache originally, so, this never would have been anything that I would ever thought there would be a question about. That this is just, that there would be anything, because this is who we are.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things. Education's remarkable. I'm the grandson that nominated Dorothy Laurentino to become a National Teacher Hall of Fame. But her story was very tragic, though. It was in 1918. She was not permitted to go to Cache Public Schools because at that time they did not allow Native American students to go. And so because of that, they went to court. And so as a result of the court case here in Comanche County, she was allowed, as well as all American Indian students in the state of Oklahoma, to attend public school.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's at Cache.
You brought up.
This isn't an action item.
No, it's not. She's an
No, this
information
is
item.
information.
You mentioned at the start of your discussion tonight that there might be a bit of a gap in what the students here understand about Native American culture, and did I understand that right? In LPS, like, are we doing, I guess my question to you is, in your opinion, are we doing enough to educate the non-Native American students on the history and the culture, being that it's such a huge part of our community?
I think there's a lot more work to be done, and that's why we're working with Dr. Deegan, Indian Education, Teresa Donahue, and all the things we could do, but I think that it could move more forward systemically. not just with workshops and things like that, but move more into professional development.
I agree.
I think that goes back to what we talked about before, where I like the history books and stuff, where we could actually put in part of our own area of culture and stuff, that you could actually put those into our history books and stuff, so that things that were important to this area was something that the kids were just naturally knowing, and Mrs. Polk knows what I'm talking about. We've talked about that before, and this is very much a part of that.
Even on a district-wide level, if we had some kind of, Native American week or something where we could have presentations in the schools. I know we do some, I'm just saying, I'm not sure if we do enough. I'm Chickasaw, and I would love to have, Dr. Deegan can share your contact information or whatever with me. I would love to know more about what you guys are doing to advocate in the district, because I think it is an important piece of our culture for sure.
Thank you. He has my contact information. I'm a colleague to you.
And you said your wife is a kindergarten teacher for us
Yes.
at Pioneer Park?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's my boss.
That's why I like my smart man too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you.
I really
It's a pleasure to be home.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. And again, the purpose of this is just to have a discussion. Dr. Pee Wee Wardy and the high school principals are considering some wording for a possible policy. Practice is one thing, but it's also a significant statement when we actually adopt something official.
Well, I'm gonna date myself, but, when I went to school, we actually had to have a semester of Oklahoma history. We don't have to do that anymore, and I think that we lost something in all that,
They still have. We still have Oklahoma history.
I know, but I mean, we had to.
It's still a semester. It's still required.
Still.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, then I dated myself.
Because I found some textbooks.
Younger than you thought.
The exception is if a student, and I should probably let Dr. Polk answer this, if a student has had another state's history and arrives.
Now, do we do it for the year?
Doesn't have the opportunity.
It's a semester.
If they are here for 4 years, they're required to have.
And it's
I'm
a
glad to
semester,
hear
right?
That's good.
All right, then.
My kids still remember, but.
I still remember mine. I can tell you my teacher.
Any more questions for Dr. Pee Wee Wardy?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pee Wee Wardy. And again, you're welcome to stay or you're welcome to go.
I'm taking civics.
Well, it's kind of a.
Okay, we'll continue
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
with superintendent announcements.
Hope I'm on 7B. 7B.
7B.
This is just,
Report of the superintendent.
item 7B, update regarding,
That's all.
one thing I just wanted you to be aware of, we've signed an MOU, which I think at some point we'll go through. Quite often I do MOUs with, this is with Cameron. And I thought this was significant because Dr. Polk and Cameron, we've all been working on this for several years. And beginning next year at Lawton High, for the first time, we will actually have Cameron classes in the building.
In the buildings, all
Don't have
right.
to leave campus.
Yes.
We're starting small because we want to do it with Fidelity, and Cameron they have really, well, our first discussions about this 4 or 5 years ago, even regulatory hurdles that they could not overcome, but they've been working at it faithfully, Dr. MacArthur, and his staff, and to have a class on-site in Lawton High, and hopefully that can replicate over the years. The current enrollment numbers over the last few years have just ballooned. They've really, from 2014-15, very, very little concurrent enrollment. To this point, it's just amazing how many students. For example, 2016-17, or the 2015-16, 4 students one semester, 6, and now we're looking at 60 and 50 and 20, 66. That's a huge increase in just 2 or 3 years, and I have to credit.
More to do it if it was at schools up to you,
Yep.
James.
And that's been a mindset and a cultural change. Yes, you want to share anything on that, Dr. Polk?
What subjects are you gonna start with?
Yeah.
We're gonna first start with psychology and then open up.
Yeah, freshman class, yeah, makes sense.
But we're excited. And speaking with the team, we look forward to the day when a 9th grader can enroll in high school and know that when they finish 4 years, that they'll be able to obtain an AA degree with the help of, Cameron. So this is a major step for us to do on campus concurrent enrollment.
Thank you, it's great.
Taken a long time to get here and a lot of work, and I appreciate everybody who's worked on it. All right, item 7C. This is an action item. Each year, twice a year, the Bond Oversight Committee report. On your table, you should have one of these and a bound copy of the information. Inside there is another piece of information. This is just a copy that was given them from the last Bond Oversight Committee. And for everybody in the room that doesn't understand what a Bond Oversight Committee is, in 2014, Lawton Public Schools established the Bond Oversight Committee, and it meets twice a year, and it meets very simply with one objective in mind. They review everything that we've spent on any bond purchases. When we started, that was simple. We had one bond. We were buying buses and fixing some roofs. Over the years, it has grown to be incredibly complex. Well, now we have teachers buying iPads and basketballs, art equipment. We have AJ buying 2,700 laptops, Chromebooks.
Trying to get them in.
They can't even get into their own basement. We have multiple projects, including sales tax, which is also included in this. We have the safe rooms. We have Eisenhower Middle School. We have the dozens and dozens. At one point last year, almost 30, I think there were 28 projects running concurrently under the bond. So it's gotten a little bit more complex, but I'm so proud of our staff. Over those 5 years, we've met every 6 months faithfully. We did delay it one last year because we just had the bond and we delayed it 1 month, and so we did it in May instead of April. But each year, we get together every 6 months, and they just review and they look at every purchase. They have every purchase available to them, and if they have any deeper questions, we're available to get those to them. And they just decide. Well, for example, on page 18, it's page on the side, were the library books mentioned that they purchased at Adams Elementary, was that part of the bond? Each time we do, before we do that, we actually review step by step what is the purpose of the community and what is the scope. And then we actually, every meeting, we review all of the verbiage and all the language, the legal and the district come. What did we say in 2014? What did the voters actually vote on in 2014? What did we say in the city sales tax agreement? What did the voters actually? Because sometimes what the district says goes above and beyond what the ballot actually says. So how do we do that? And finally, in the 2017 bond election, what is the ballot language order communications? Once we review it, they get to make a decision. Yes, those library books did or they didn't meet the intent of what we voted for. I'm pleased to say that yet again, this will be our, gosh, I'm thinking this might be our 10th Bond Oversight Committee meeting, somewhere in there. They did vote unanimously to say that the committee is pleased to report that the current and planned expenditures. We also review what we're planning to do the next 6 months. And they said it meet the provisions outlined by the ballot and the intent of the funds is communicated by the school district. And they did have one question, and then I don't know who suggested this, but one of our faithful attendees has requested that I find out exactly how we fix or maybe even change the, right now we're under the, you can use bond money to improve buildings. You can use bond money to buy things.
Buy instruments, but not repair them.
Not repair them. You can repair this building with bond money, but you can't repair the instrument. Mr. Wade and I have looked at it. What we'll do is sometime over the next few weeks, I'll try to get a legislative, is it a constitutional issue in the state of Oklahoma?
Who do I need to attack is what I want to know.
I have a question.
Yeah, the easy way for Patty. So we'll find out. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Mr. Wade, is it and I don't expect you to know. I think it might be constitutional, but we'll find out that answer and get that back to
Yeah,
you.
they want us to buy a $10,000 cello rather than fix the 10 that we have sitting there for $1,000 or $2,000. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
That's crazy.
So we need to know, and we'll get, the teachers, we need to really, and I think the other districts would be very supportive of it too.
Now, if there's something not on this, can you get something added to it?
Yeah,
Meaning-
yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's gonna be on the next few meetings and stuff. Like if, say there's an issue that's not on it, I have an issue that we might need to address, so.
It depends on if it's the scope of the committee. When the board established this, the whole scope is they review our expenditures. All other issues about choosing what to spend, that's all in the board's purview. They just go back and say, yes, the board chose to, and these things fall in the guidelines. And so that would be a discussion we just have to have on whether it's a board issue or a bond oversight committee
That
issue.
committee takes it very seriously.
Oh, they
We
do.
had some really good questions and from the last meeting and it was, they do their job.
I go into that meeting very on point, because they are very, they will
And we
challenge
found out
you.
today you can't buy glue.
Yeah,
Why not?
we brought in a stack of,
It's expendable. It's gotta be a permanent item.
I think.
Yes.
yeah, OCAS is.
One of them put it on there.
Our Oklahoma cost accounting system, they code everything from pencils to computers. And one thing equipment has to be durable and designed to last more than a year. So we can't buy paper and we can't buy glue.
Something you use up. You can't.
Because it's expendable and disposable. So we, and just to everybody understand the process, teacher gives, at Washington, gives her a purchase order. She reviews that. They review it with their bond oversight committee. They approve it as a faculty. It moves on then to either Karen or Amy. They approve it. They send it on to Brenda. Jamie approves it, and
Now we
then I
have
approve it.
Kathy
So-
is gonna keep us all.
And now Kathy, which is the most important announcement of the
After the
day,
meeting, yes.
Kathy, our own Kathy Metley, is now the bond secretary for the district, so she'll be the single point of contact for principals and directors
It's gonna make
and
this
teachers.
better.
Look at her face. I'm looking at her face.
It's gonna make a quicker, more
Yeah,
streamlined process.
everybody knows Kathy does a great job on
She
what she
does a
does.
fantastic
And so we
job.
appreciate her taking that on.
This whole group does.
So
So do we
our
need to
two chairs
action?
this year, and it changes each year, each chair comes on for 2 years. They alternate. Next year, Mr. Henry will go off, but of course, the committee can vote him to be chair again. But Brian Henry and Kimber Downey are our two chairs this year. Anyways, it's a pleasure. What everybody doesn't, I'm not sure everybody realized, there are bonds in other cities in the state who copied this, literally, this exact same process, word for word, and they passed their bonds because they had a bond oversight committee. I can think of 2 major cities right now, because they took our process. Lynn met with one and helped them understand it. I met with another, and it's a matter of this process, and this is so clean and transparent. I had Miss Downey, and I'll close with this. I think it was Miss Downey. No, it was, Arlene, were you there? Yes. Yes, Miss Downey asked, or she said, I'm on the committee and we vote on everything. We go through everything and we pre-approve it. Is that what they do in every building? And it's like, yes, that's what every building does. And to know that it's been done with fidelity across the district, it's put a little bit of work on the principals and the staff, but it's been incredible to see them do it. They fit into a faculty meeting. We just didn't know how to spend money, so it's been hard to figure out how to spend money after all
Yeah,
these
that
years.
was one of the questions today, is how come there's still 2004
Oh, see.
money? And it's
Oh.
because we weren't very good at it.
And the 2004 that's left over is, I've met with Mr. Tanner. I had informed the board that we may use that for the band instrument, or the band uniforms. But instead, I didn't think that really felt the intent of what they voted for in 2004. They did, however, vote for gymnasiums, which we didn't build. And they did vote for air conditioning, and we have several elementary gyms that need air conditioning. So Mr. Tanner is working on getting some bids, and we hope to get those started as soon as possible. There's about $250,000, $250,000 there that we hope to put into that. Of course, that's with board approval eventually, when we
Let's
get
make
that.
sure
far.
all of our roofs don't leak first, though.
Yes, we have money set aside for that as well.
I'd rather.
This
see
is
no
kind of a little
leaking.
extra money, we thought, but now we're starting with the 2014 bond. Now we've got to identify, now that we caught up from those bonds that were promised in 2004, it took us 14 years to get some of them addressed. We've got air conditioning, HVAC. Now the things that weren't identified in 2004, we got to start over and identify them again. And now, so we've got more. They're not hopefully in as bad a shape as they were, but now's the time to loop those through. But there are some that weren't identified in 2004 that now are problems.
I will move for approval. Second.
Awesome.
Call roll, please.
Yes. Ms. Nyworth? Yes. Ms. Edwards? Yes. Dr. Bridges? Yes.
Yes. Item 7D, superintendent's announcement.
I apologize, but my computer went to sleep while I was talking.
I know, and if it does, it's a mess when to get it back up.
Yeah, my password's like 500 characters long, thanks to AJ.
Not mine.
He has trained me. Please, nobody is password 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, quickly, I have a few good announcements to share. Last week, a representative from Oklahoma Bar Association presented Lawton High School freshman Noah Hollyfield with a plaque and a check for second place finish in the 9th grade division of the 2019 Oklahoma Bar Association Law Day Essay Contest. The theme was the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and so that's a big deal. So we're very proud of Noah. That's at Lawton High. And Pat Henry Elementary was recognized last month as a Project Lead the Way Distinguished Launch School. And if everybody doesn't understand Project Lead the Way, it is a science initiative. As a matter of fact, I think Dr. Polk and Great Plains have a meeting coming up pretty soon where one of the national or state director. I'll stop while I'm ahead. But if you've ever had a chance to, it's kind of, I've been on Starbase, which is a little different. All these issues, they're just, anyways, they're great things. Project Lead the Way empowers students by using hands-on activity to develop in-demand knowledge and skills of students with robotics, simple machines, design structures, etc. STEM is what it's about, and so that's a good deal. Thank you. Congratulations, Pat Henry. We also have, and I got this news, and I think every year we've been here, we've had somebody from Lawton to recognize. Professional Oklahoma Educators Foundation of the state of Oklahoma has chosen 4 educators from Lawton Public Schools to recognize from their Excellence in Education banquet. And they are. For Special Education Merit, Miss Tiffany Lynn Biles. For Teacher Character, Lori Silkman, our previous Teacher of the Year. High School Merit, Mary Beth Belcher. And non-certified, Tina Parsons. And so we have 4 educators getting statewide recognition. Last week, I don't know what day that was, last Wednesday, I don't know if any of you were on Fort Sill about 9 o'clock, but they kind of had a drill. Lawton Public Schools, in cooperation, now I show up and I'm aware of this, but Lynn Cordes and her staff, and Dave McDermott, who was and so many other people spent over a year working with Fort Sill in creating, a couple years ago we had a live shooter simulation, and that was incredible. This time they did an evacuation simulation where they brought all the students from Freedom all the way to Snow Hall, and a half-mile walk, and it was beautiful weather. But I want to say I was in that one and I got to see parts of this, but this one drilled down deeper and was so, it was one of the best experiences of life. I've identified a young lady who could win an Oscar for her portrayal of a mother in distress. Had us all, we knew it was not real, and we all had tears in our eyes. That was amazing. But Lynn's staff, it ran like clockwork. Everybody had a spot. Colonel King, who wasn't here today, his staff, I just can't brag on enough. I hope everybody knows how seriously not only Lawton Public Schools, but Fort Sill takes the safety of their students. And so everybody should be extolled for that. I only have 2 more announcements left. This one is just a quick one. It ran across my email yesterday or today, and I thought we need to share these things a little bit more often. Ms. Donahue runs our federal programs, and every once in a while we get a notice that they're going to do a compliance monitoring or a desk audit or sometimes a full-blown audit, and we all, bless you, nobody likes it. Everybody kind of, okay. And they double down and get it done. But I got that email from a Mr. Goad, and I know you've got it too, Ms. Donahue, but just a good deal to find out that Lawton Public Schools have been found compliant with federal requirements for 2018-19. We ought to keep the feds happy. So, the last thing, this is in conjunction kind of with Arlene Cudd's presentation, also with something that Ms. Brissolera brought to my attention last week. If you read my article on Saturday, I talked about PTA and it's Public Schools Week. And I really sat down and thought, how do we really understand what's going on? Now, I don't know if everybody knows, this is April 1st, 2019. exactly 6 years ago, April 1st, 2013, the board hired me, which is kind of a strange anniversary. It's the 6th year running April Fool's joke. And so I'm so proud to have been involved in it. But what has happened, if we're going to appreciate what's going on in the public schools and the PTA and everything else, I just wanted to read, here's some accomplishments that our district has managed to do, our staff, our community, and we're talking about an entire community effort. Funding locked in for adequate materials and classrooms for the first time, furniture, technology is flowing in, of course, $142 million in community support through 3 ballot measures, construction Eisenhower Middle School, construction on the safe rooms, our first safe rooms, which, by the way, I do want you to know that was a conversation. I remember Dr. Bridges and Ms. Clodfelter and I walking through the safe rooms, and they said, why can't we do this? That's Dr. Bridges' leadership as a board member brought us to that point. And I think she was president that year. And so financial stability, it's made step increases, site budgets, and small raises possible. New playground equipment at all elementary sites. That's happened over the last few years. Replacement and renewal of our bus fleet. We're catching up so fast, we're having to decide what to do next. New windows at Lawton High and MacArthur and Eisenhower High School. And this board caught up in the last few years with all the HVAC and roofing projects that were identified. Not only that, but the cafeteria renovation at MacArthur High School. All of those things have been caught up in just the last few years. That's what's been going on in our public school. In addition to that, completion of Freedom Elementary. And we are one of the first districts in the state to have elementary marshals, may be the first district in the state. And here's what we can expect over the next few months. Continued, that's one thing our teachers have not realized, are starting to realize. The funding they're getting for their libraries and in their classrooms, that's set for 11 years. That's an 11-year plan, and they're starting to relax it. So I get to order more library books? And I remember one of our librarians was excited about that. We're going to hopefully get the plans to the board about the external renovation of historic Douglas Learning Center, the window project, which HVAC will be involved. Ron Stevens Stadium wall, finally, the hole in the wall. Hole in the wall gang, we're addressing that. Plans are at the architect for the MacArthur High School auditorium. Something that is a new thing that's kind of popped up is we have a plan to get before the board for Tomlinson Middle School to create an auditorium space where it's actually doable. And the principal kind of brought the idea up, and we looked at it, and so we're working on that. The questions are HVAC and fire marshal. 2 or 3 people in the world I'm afraid of, fire marshal is one. Yes, fire marshal, yes. GPS tracking system on bus routes, what they're working on. Upgrading all our secondary auditoriums, which the committees are working on the sound right now. We just approved, or we're about to approve resurfacing our high school tracks, and we're working on our elementary gyms that need air conditioning. In addition to that, the district's been in solid financial state. The budgets and pay raises have been offered to staff when other districts couldn't. We've had 2 years in a row a strong accreditation report, competitive ADF reports, as Dr. Polk said. This board and the previous boards that I've served with have kept the promises made in 2014. That is significant. That was not easy, but they kept those promises. This district leads legislatively. We have regular breakfasts and meetings. We've restored equipment and decision and budgeting power back to the sites. You all get to make decisions over your money more and more and more. And increasingly, they make really, really good decisions. And we also have the bond oversight committee and the site bond committees. Those are things, again, that are patterned around the state. We talk about all this happening. It could not have happened without the school board. This school board is the school board that made the bond happen. The last 6 years, I've worked with school boards who made amazing things happen. But there are other engaged organizations. We've reconstituted SPPDC for the first time. Our support staff has their voice restored on a district-wide scale. And I talked to, they're very excited to see that happen. PPDC, DEIC, PTA, Stop It program this year. PEAL, POE, both of them came to our, both organizations, our teacher organizations came. And then Fort Sill, we're in regular meetings with Fort Sill every month, whereas in the beginning, we were not at the table, and now Fort Sill has pulled us to the table. Chamber of Commerce, Lawton Public Schools Foundation. I just want everybody to get a sense if this is Public School Appreciation Month, I want everybody to get a sense of all that has happened in recent years and how much this board and other boards have accomplished. And I just want to join the PTA's call in celebrating public schools. I think that is an amazing thing to look back on. And I just want to say, just imagine what Lawton Public School community and staff can accomplish during the next 6 years. This is my 6-year anniversary at Lawton Public Schools. But you know, I think it's time to look forward to the next 6 years. What in the world can we accomplish if we've accomplished this in the last 6 years? So I just applaud our district, I applaud our school board, and I just can't wait to get to work seeing how the next 6 years unfold. So thank you all, thank all those organizations, Peel, staff here. You don't get appreciated enough, and I thank you for reminding of that at PTA. But that's the end of my announcements.
Okay. Item number 8, consent agenda. Do we have any items that need to be removed?
Yes.
Okay.
Item like 8F1D.
8F1D. Okay. Any other items?
I'll move for the balance of the consent agenda.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. KAF1D.
I really don't want it removed, it's just blank
Yeah.
on our copy of the
There's nothing
agenda.
wrong with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh.
So I just wanted, I mean, I know that it's not supposed to be
It's a
blank.
legit thing.
We have an
It is.
attachment. I'm gonna hit the print button and bring everybody a copy.
Okay.
Just let me hit the
I
print.
mean, I talked to Ms.
Or I'll-
Bentley about it, and she's cleared it up with me. If no one has a problem with it, we can vote on it as she states.
I can read it to you, or I can just hit
Okay.
the button and have you a copy.
No,
real
it's
quick.
in the
We'll-
clerk report.
It's in the, it is in the clerk's report, correct. It just, in our copy, did not.
The attachment didn't show
You
up?
forgot to put.
No, the attachment showed up, but it
Okay.
showed up blank.
Oh, okay.
It's not filled out.
It's not filled out.
They didn't put our name in there.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, I just didn't want to vote on like a blank thing. I don't know.
Like contract.
yes, I don't see any big concern. Do you,
Yeah.
Mr. Wade, if we fill that out before we sign it?
Okay.
Good call.
I don't want to get in trouble in my very last meeting. Get called back.
That would not be your
To the
legacy.
detail.
Okay,
Your
yeah, what I'm
legacy
gonna
is the
say
safe
is,
rooms.
I'm gonna quit jumping over the
That's what I
permit
get paid
things.
the big bucks for right here.
I put a lot of thought into
jumped
it, so
over
I
it.
jumped over that one. Didn't even notice.
Okay, Laura, you want to?
Okay, I will move for the approval when it's filled out.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
When it's filled out, I'd say yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Did you notice that?
That is a good catch. I did
She,
not notice that.
I
brought it to your
did,
attention?
She brought it to our attention, right.
Yeah, she's a detail lady.
I jumped over.
Okay, item 9 is the proposed executive session. I don't believe we need one tonight, do we?
Not that I know of.
Not that I can see, unless the board does.
Okay. So we'll skip to item 13, the superintendent's personnel report.
Don't we have to
you
do
still-
9A?
I'm sorry, 9A. Oh,
Oh, no.
man, I'll tell you, I've been trying to push this along. The harder I push to move this meeting along, the longer it
No,
gets.
I think you were correct the first time. 13.
No,
We did. That's 9.
we have to vote to accept 9A.
No,
Only if
we
we
go
go
to
in, I
13.
think.
Only if we go in.
Only if we
Been
go
so
in,
long,
okay.
we've forgotten.
13, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're right. You're right.
It's been so long.
All right, y'all settle down.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes. Well,
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Item 14 is new business. Doesn't appear we have any. Our next regular board meeting date is Thursday, April 18th, 2019 at 5 p.m. in Shoemaker Center Auditorium. Do we need to set any additional board meeting dates?
And I'm aware of.
None that I'm aware of.
Any board announcements? We're going to miss you, Lori.
Yes, we are.
I'll miss you guys. I'll come visit.
Great.
I'll move for adjournment.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes, thank you all.
Good night.
And I don't know how many.